Alright, hello again. Welcome back, everybody, to the BFG Show. This is going to be a video that should have came out yesterday. I'm just getting it out today. This is going to be my review of the Oakland Raiders. I did not come out with a video for the Eagles, and I did not come out with a video for the LA Rams because there wasn't enough footage to view, I felt, for either one. For me to do a review on a team, I generally like to get it anywhere from 3, sometimes 4 games in a video before I actually come out with a synopsis. Unfortunately, I was only able to get like 2 games of Oakland in. I was able to watch the Jets game, and I was able to watch the Tennessee game that team ended up playing, and I think I got a fairly decent idea of what Oakland has to offer. They will be coming over to play Washington on a Sunday night game. This is not something that gives a whole lot of Washington Redskin fans a lot of faith, but it is what it is, the schedule being what it is. One of the things I think I'll just go ahead and mention right now is a major concern for Washington Redskin fans is going to be the injury list that we have compiled after playing the St. Louis, or playing the Los Angeles Rams. Got a lot of people that are banged up, a lot of people that are hurt, and hopefully that getting a late start on Sunday is going to be a little bit to our advantage. We're going to need as much time as humanly possible. I think it's a good thing that this game starts later because it's going to allow your team to get an early start on the day, to get stuff massaged out, to get in, to get muscles, warmed up, to get, it's going to give you a little bit more time in the morning and in the afternoon to prepare yourself physically to go out and hammer it up again, man. Lace up the chin strap and go out and knock them out. And it's tough to do when you're got a lot of sores and a lot of injuries and a lot of stuff that's going on physically that would be difficult if you were playing a morning game. So hopefully that's going to be to our advantage. We got a couple hours to kind of work some of that stuff out. I'm not going to go through the injury report. A lot of us pretty much already know what that stuff is. I think a lot of you guys who follow my channel pretty much are already up to par on that. I'm not going to waste a lot of time talking about that. So I'm just going to go right into my synopsis of the Oakland Raiders. After taking a look at some of the film, one of the things that really impressed me about this team, and I knew I was going to be watching a very impressive team. I did not necessarily keep too much track last season. I watched a couple of games of theirs in the beginning of the year, but towards the end when I started reviewing film, I started doing game reviews, I started doing rant videos, and I started just watching film for the future, for the previous or the following week's teams. You kind of fall short of watching the teams that you kind of, like to follow. Oakland's been a team that I've always kind of liked to follow. And don't ask me why. I don't really have a whole lot of love for the Oakland Raiders. I mean, I don't. I don't like the team, but I like the division. I really like the division. I'm not a Chargers fan. I definitely am not a Denver Broncos fan. But I've always kind of liked, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I really don't have any opinion about the Chiefs. But the Oakland Raiders have been a team that I've really have kind of paid a little bit of attention to just because I'm interested in how they've been able to build that team over the last couple of years. I've paid attention to some of their draft selections the last 5 years, and I've been fairly impressed with how they've drafted. And I've kind of wanted to see how those draft picks have come to fruition and how they've worked out for them. And they've worked out very, very well. They've turned into a very, very good team to the point where they are going to contend for that playoff spot in that division. I'm honestly, if they can keep that quarterback healthy, and they've done a lot to try to do exactly that, this team's going to contend for that. So if they're able to keep their quarterback healthy and a lot of other positions healthy, they're going to be looking at that playoff bid. One of the things I'll start off right off the bat. The first thing that comes to mind is going to be, I'm going to go on the offense. Their offense is very, very impressive. For one thing, their offensive line is extremely big. They're very, very big offensive linemen. And by big, I mean they're very, very meaty. They're very, very beefy. They don't look very versatile. They don't look very mobile. They do, every once in a while, pull people. But they're pretty much a straight up and down run-type team. You don't see that they have that ability that a lot of other offenses have in the smaller, more mobile offensive linemen. These guys are pretty big. And taking a look at, especially guys like their left tackle, they ended up getting their left tackle. Number 72, Donald Penn, was a guy who they signed to a deal this particular season, who is not somebody who looks a whole lot of. It doesn't look like he has a whole lot of speed. He'll come out at the second level and block. He's fairly slow at doing it, but he's a good straight up and down pass blocker. I think he's got some weaknesses in his game that could be exploited, but not by much. He's a pretty good left tackle. We faced better, but he is good at his position. Same thing with the other positions. They're very, very big, very beefy, and I think that's kind of good for a guy like Marshawn Lynch to run behind. Another thing that really, really stands out on this football team, two major, major, glaring, very obvious things about this football team that stand out. One is the size of their wide receivers. You take a look at this roster, take a look at their wide receiver core. All these guys are over 6 feet. 6'1", 6'2". These guys are big targets, big wingspans, and they know how to place this football, which brings me to their second biggest asset on offense, and that's their quarterback. Their quarterback is playing like a fourth-year veteran. He's really starting to come into his own over there in Oakland. He's able to do a lot of really good things with his ball placement. He's actually starting to get to the point where he's reading through progressions, and he's actually starting to wave off safeties, which is an advanced quarterback thing to do for somebody at his learning level. There's fourth-year quarterbacks that still haven't been able to figure out that concept, and it's one that's very difficult to learn, but they've put a lot of time and they've put a lot of money and effort into this kid because they signed him to a long-term deal just this last offseason. Number 84 wide receiver Cordell Patterson, 6'2". Number 15 wide receiver Michael Crabtree, 6'1". For those of you that know him really, really well. Number 89 wide receiver Amari Cooper, 6'2". 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". You get the picture. And then Jared Cook is another individual who's a tight end. All four of these targets are very, very high-profile targets. These are guys, and that's one of the things that's impressive about the quarterback, Mr. Derek Carr, is that he is really, really good at dispersing that football between all four of them. He's going to look for mismatches. He's going to look for defenses and find out whichever number he's going to pick on, and he's going to go after that target because all these guys can catch the football, and his ball placement is very, very good. Which brings me to, that's another thing. Some of the formations that this team likes to run, they like to run a bunch formation kind of like we do with the trips, really close to the offensive line, and they'll run a lot of different combinations out of this. They'll run some outside routes. They'll run some close to the linebacker stuff. They'll even run some running plays out of this. You try to tell yourself that you can run some blitz packages from this, and you can, but when you're not necessarily knowing exactly where it's going to go, it's kind of hard. I mean, you're going to have to blitz anyways out of this package, but they're very, very successful out of these packages. Another thing they like to do is they like to spread the offense out to a no-back set, spread offense, and they'll go after those one-on-one matchups because they know at that point they're dealing with one-on-one. They're going to find out who those matchups are, and they're going to do a number of different things as far as players are concerned. They'll run their inside slants if the coverage is off, but the main thing that they really, really like to do is Derek Carr is really, really good at giving you a 3-step drop or a 5-step drop and throwing that football right to that sideline marker. He'll throw it right to that sideline marker, that sideline hash mark, so that receiver can do a 5 to 7 yard go. He'll stop and he'll come back to the football towards the sideline and reach his hands up there and grab that ball where only he can get it. That upper right-hand corner. And they're very, very successful at it. You can tell this is a timing route that they have practiced. In my opinion, the only way you're really going to be able to defend something like this is bump and run. Bump and run is going to be crucial to throw their timing off. Get in there, get you a couple shots in, and then get back. I have confidence that we do have the team that can do that, especially with Josh Norman. I don't know if I really see a whole lot of Josh Norman, Michael Crabtree showdowns in this game. I think that they may end up trying Bashaud Breeland a couple of times. The thing that really, really worries me, however, the big target that I have a feeling that they're going to go to on 3rd and long is going to be their tight end, Jared Cook. Jared Cook is more than likely going to be matching up against anywhere from slot corners to linebackers. And now that we have, Mason Foster, who is out. He's out with his injury. It's doubtful. I'm reading stuff where they're saying he might be back. He's not going to be back. Separated shoulder. They're not going to bring him back for an Oakland game. I highly doubt it. And even then, I don't know if I like that matchup with a separated shoulder against a guy like Jared Cook. We're going to end up getting a guy like Will Compton back there who sucks at pass coverage anyway. And we really don't have any other options besides him, unless you throw in like a Martrell Spaeth or something like that, somebody who has inexperience going up against an all-pro talent like Jared Cook. Jared Cook is a very, very good receiver. They love to go him on 3rd down. They love to go any one of these 4 individuals on 3rd down, 3rd and long. Any one of these guys is a wonderful, wonderful target. But Jared Cook is going to be I think that's too enticing for a lot of offensive coordinators to go after on 3rd and long. So take a look at 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. Take a look see where number 87 is at in that slot. They'll even load up Jared Cook at split end. So take a look at that too. They like to line him up at split end, kind of like what we're doing with Jordan Reed every once in a while, moving him in the tight end position and moving him out at the split receiver position. They'll do one of those two things. Another thing that they like to do well, I'll get to that later actually. So take a look at those individuals as far as the wide receiver positions. They will test those outside corners as far as those big, tall receivers. And also they'll do their spread offense from that position to get one-on-one mismatches going. And look on 3rd and long, make sure you're paying attention. Any one of those receivers can catch that football on 3rd and long, but I just have a feeling that we're going to have some mismatch issues with Jared Cook. So take a look at that. Let's go back to number 72, Donald Penn. Donald Penn is a big, big left tackle. I paid a lot of attention on some of these plays with their big left tackle. He's not very mobile, in my opinion. He's got a very, very wide first step when he's expecting somebody to go around him, but he's got a massive frame, massive legs, massive body, and it's hard to get around. You're not going to get through him. There's no way you're getting through him, not with the linebackers that we have. And most left tackles you can't expect to go through. The thing that I see with him, though, is I think it's going to take an extremely mobile and fast outside linebacker to test his speed. That's what I would do. I would wait on 3rd downs, and I would test his speed around the outside. And I would also test his speed around the outside when he's able to catch up to me. I would run him as deep as I possibly can. Okay, get him with that big first step, get him moving that big butt of his with those lateral side steps, throwing that block, trying to push you to the outside. And then once you have your depth, and for some of you that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Once you have your depth where that quarterback has finished taking his final steps, when you have that depth, run that spin move and come back to the inside. There's no way, in my opinion, that Donald Penn's going to be able to combat that. Not if he's got his momentum moving to the outside. I think, honestly, that with the individuals that we have at that outside position, especially a Ryan Kerrigan, I think Ryan Kerrigan can specialize at this because he's done it. I've even seen Smith do it. I've even seen Preston Smith do this. Maybe once so far this season, where he's been able to get that proper depth, and then he will slap that left hand over as hard as you got to see. I got to see more motion out of that, though. We reviewed that in my film review. For those of you that were able to catch it, for those of you that were there and saw that, you know what I'm talking about. You get your depth and you slap that left hand up and hit his right shoulder as hard as you can and cut back to the inside. You might be able to have some shots at Derek Carr. So take a look at that. That might be a possibility. Come to the outside. If you're not able to get to the outside, get your depth, come back to the inside. That's a possibility. Red zone defense. Let's take a look at the red zone defense. Red zone defense is a situation where if it is a long down in yardage, they're going to test the corners of that end zone with these big wide receivers. Especially take a look at a Michael Crabtree. There's another receiver in there too that they love to go to, and I cannot think of the kid's name right now. He's a guy that always gets targeted in the end zone. He hardly ever gets targeted anywhere else. In fact, I'm going to see if I can plug his name in here. I want to say it's Seth Roberts that I'm looking at. It's a possibility it might be Seth Roberts. He's already got a touchdown this season. It was one of the touchdowns that I actually saw him score. I want to say that it's him. He's not necessarily somebody that I would concern myself with all that much. He is a favorite target, whoever this individual is in the end zone. But I would be more concerned about a Michael Crabtree on that outside corner. They do run the fade, and they are awesome at the fade. They are way better than the Washington Redskins are at the fade. In fact, they're way better now with the fade than we ever can be at the end of 2017 if we ran the fade every single Sunday. So they're very, very good at the fade, and they have the wide receivers with the physical abilities and the height to be able to do that. So take a look at wide receivers going to the outside pylons, going to the outside corners of the end zone to get that mismatch with those corners for that good catch. Another thing too, if it is on 3rd and short, they are almost always going to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch, no matter what formation that they give you. They almost always go to Marshawn Lynch. They'll even take a slot receiver and put him in motion, and right before he gets to the ball, they will hike the ball, and that motion receiver will cut inside and chop block that middle linebacker to pop that hole open for Marshawn Lynch. So they'll show split with a single back set, and they think you're going to pass it, and they'll end up handing it off to him, or they'll get their shallow bunch trips formation, and they'll hand it to him going either weak side or strong side. Either way, inside middle linebackers need to be very, very careful what it is they do on 3rd and short, because 3rd and short, 2nd and short, 3rd and short, it doesn't matter to the Oakland Raiders. They're probably going to hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, and behind that big, beefy offense, I don't blame him. I would too. I'd be giving it to him. So you're really going to have to fight for leverage. You're really going to have to fight to maintain gap integrity, to get inside there, to bring down a really, really big back who has a great sidestep. And honestly, he doesn't look like he's lost all that much since his hiatus. So take a look at that on 3rd and short. Okay, let's go on to the defense. Taking a look at the defense, I'm going to start with some of the guys on the defensive line here. Some of the notes that I had taken, the defensive line is a very, very physical defensive line. These guys are probably, in my opinion, taking a look at the LA Rams game that we played, the Oakland Raiders are going to be a lot more physical. They may not necessarily be better, but they are going to be, in my opinion, they're going to be much, much more physical. They're probably going to be one of the more physical. Well, we played Philadelphia, and Philadelphia's got a very, very physical offense, or defensive line. I would say I would put this defensive line to be on par with the physicality. I'm not saying that they're as talented because they don't have a Timmy Jernigan and a Fletcher Cox in there, but they do have some individuals in there that can make some plays. We're going to have to play physical offense against this team, and this is with a sort of a banged-up offensive line. I'm just hoping that Morgan Moses is going to be able to do a good job if he's going to be playing. Going to have to win our one-on-one matchups, and we're going to have to be very, very physical. Defensive tackle number 78, Justin Ellis, has the ability to be a wrecking ball in the backfield and on passing and running plays. So he has the ability to get back there and really, really be disruptive. Another individual I'm looking at is defensive end number 97, Mario Edwards, who's very, very quick and very, very shifty. Doesn't have a whole lot of size, but he's got the agility, he's got the speed to be very quick to get in that backfield as well. You need to get solid blocks on him because he's got great athletic ability. This defensive line is very, very good at making contact and extending their arms at the moment that they want to end up ripping and coming inside and taking away your running play, or coming inside and pretty much coming inside taking away your running play. They're really, really good at that. They did that for the last 2 weeks. Great at making initial contact. They're very violent with initial contact, extending those arms and then maintaining that gap, trying to maintain gap on both left and right side in order to rip and then come inside whichever plays the run's going on. They're very, very good at doing that. So pay attention to that. Our offensive line's going to have to fight through that. So they're really, really good at plugging up the balls and getting to the ball carrier. It's almost textbook. Okay, some of the things you have to take a look at as far as on third, like a couple of the third down plays that I ended up seeing with the Oakland Raiders. Sometimes they'll show their 3-4 defense. They'll show their 3 defensive linemen that are up, and then they'll bring 2, if not sometimes 3 linebackers up to the line of scrimmage. They'll bring their 2 outside linebackers up, obviously, and then they'll bring a third, the middle linebacker, right up in one of those gaps, showing blitz. They'll bring their second guy up pretty close. There's been times that I've seen them blitz one of those 2 individuals. There have been times I've seen them blitz both, and there have been times that I've seen them both come back into pass coverage. Your guess is as good as mine, but Kirk Cousins cannot get into a situation where he thinks that a blitz is going to come prior to the snap. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait until after the play develops to figure out which one's blitzing. I'm not going to want him to go back there and try to decide which one he's blitzing so that he can pick apart this defense. We are not at that phase yet as far as offensive ability. We just need to run short passing plays. That's really what it comes down to. We have to get chunk yardage against this football team. They have the people that can get to the quarterback. Khalil Mack, and they have Bruce Irvin. These 2 individuals coming on third down. Bruce Irvin's having a fairly decent year this year. Khalil Mack is Khalil Mack. I'm interested in the Khalil Mack debacle, though. Let's face it, Khalil Mack is not going to be able to do anything against Trent Williams. He's just not. Trent Williams is too good. And I've seen Khalil Mack go up against some fairly decent left tackles. I'm not sure if he's gone up against a left tackle of the caliber of a Trent Williams. Trent Williams is probably one of the best left tackles in football as we speak right now. He's very, very good. He's been very good this season, and I honestly think it's going to be difficult. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I think that they may end up switching Khalil Mack around both left and right. If they end up switching him over to the right, I wouldn't mind seeing if our offense is able to actually kick Trent Williams out into the flat and become a lead blocker like we've done in the past. If Mack is on the other side, I would never in a million years think about kicking him out to the left and becoming a lead blocker on a pull if Khalil Mack is on that side. That play's just not going to work. If Trent Williams is not on Khalil Mack, I'm not running at Khalil Mack. I'm just not doing it. We don't have anybody else behind him that's going to be able to take him out. Besides Trent Williams, it's going to be a tight end. And name me a tight end on our offense that's going to be able to block a Khalil Mack. It's just not going to happen. But take a look at that. I'm going to be taking a look at this game and seeing if Khalil Mack stays on just one side, if he ends up switching Bruce Irvin, he doesn't necessarily scare me as much as Khalil does, although Bruce has been able to get in the backfield and do some damage. I'm not necessarily worried all that much about him in this football game, so I would run at him. I would definitely run at him. But he comes in on third down in situational rushing plays anyway. He doesn't play all the time. Now, one of the things that I'm hoping that the Washington Redskins are able to notice in this football game is there have been a couple of plays where the Oakland Raiders have been susceptible to the read option. Now, Marcus Mariota is very, very good at running the read option because that was the bread and butter of the Oregon Ducks offense when he played in college. So he's not somebody that you need to put a whole lot of coaching into when it comes to the read option. He knows when to keep it. He knows when to send it. However, Kirk Cousins knows how to run the same offense in a read option at the pro level. He does a fairly decent job. He is nowhere near as athletically gifted as a Marcus Mariota. He's not going to be able to get the chunk yardage that a Marcus Mariota is able to get. However, it's a good misdirection if you want to pick on linebackers, and that's exactly what I would do. There's been a couple of plays where they've ended up having individuals that are supposed to set that outside edge that end up not necessarily knowing what to do. Getting good wide receiver blocking on this read option play has been key because it ended up helping out Tennessee a couple of times. Didn't necessarily see a whole lot of that with the Jets game, but I took a really good long look at some of the Tennessee Titan plays that they ran with Marcus, and I honestly think that Oakland is going to be susceptible to a couple, not a whole bunch, but I think they're going to be susceptible to some misdirection, especially along the lines of the read option. So that's something that I hope that we sprinkle in there every once in a while is some read option plays. Now, the last thing that I'm going to cover, this is pretty much one of the last things I'm going to cover on this particular subject is Khalil Mack. You've got to be worried about Khalil Mack being blocked by any tight end. I'd mentioned that earlier. That was one of the things that I'd highlighted in this game, or in this team, is you got to take a look at that in particular. Moving on into what I ended up seeing during the Jets game. Amari Cooper is another individual that I forgot to mention earlier. Amari Cooper is another wide receiver that's on this offense. 23-year-old, 6'1", 210-pound wide receiver who has amazing ability. Once he catches that football, it is imperative that our corners are able to tackle this individual. Fundamental drills. We cannot have an episode of what Bashar Breeland ended up doing last week. You cannot have a situation where somebody hurdles you. You've got to be way better than this. You've got to learn from what it is you did last week and take it into this week and make sure that you don't screw this up again, because Amari Cooper is an individual that will make you eat it. Just like we did last week. You need to be able to set your feet and you need to be able to bring him down, even if it's not sexy. He's got great athletic ability to make you miss and get some chunk yardage off you, so something to take a look at. Also, some of the passing plays to the outside that I'd mentioned before, earlier or later on in my notes, I have a feeling this is also a situation where a lot of quarterbacks are taking a look at what the corners are doing. As soon as the corners are able to backpedal, as soon as they turn those hips, is usually when a quarterback will throw that football. I think that's also what's happening here. As soon as that corner turns his hips is when that wide receiver makes his break and comes back to the ball. And that's where Derek Carr is able to place that ball in that upper corner. That upper corner where that wide receiver has to extend his hands and reach it. So even if that corner has the athletic ability to still stop on a dime after his hips are turned and come back and make a play on the ball, he's got to go even farther to get it. And most guys can't get that ball, especially when it's thrown up in that upper corner. That's one of the reasons why I think they're successful at throwing that play. So that's probably one of the things that they're going to end up doing on those one-on-one matchups. So I think either a big cushion or a short cushion, being careful when you turn your hips as far as these corners are concerned, and watching out for that upper left. If he ends up throwing that pass, to be absolutely honest with you, I would much rather that our corner be there to make a play and make a tackle as opposed to try and make a play. Just make the tackle and bring him down. I would just say let him have it. You can't afford to go to make a play and miss and have that guy go for 6. It's just they have that kind of ability on this football team. One of the things that I also noticed on third down is you might want to start sending blitzes to their right tackle side. A couple of the sacks and a couple of the broken pocket situations that I've seen have come from that right side guard, right side tackle, especially that right side tackle position. I don't know exactly who that is that's over there. I didn't write that name down. But they ended up sending some blitz packages in there. Also, They got some odd man rushes that were able to get some of the inside linebacker rush from Tennessee, able to get inside there and get Derek Carr. And then I think they followed it up with another blitz package where they attacked that right side of Oakland's offense. I think there's some weaknesses there. I think that is something that we can exploit, and hopefully we're able to do that. Now, some of the things that I also saw as well, they also ran a reverse. They have a wide receiver, a slot receiver that comes in on motion, and at the last minute they'll hike the ball and give it to him on a reverse around the outside. Our linebackers need to be careful on this play, even if they see it, because we ended up doing it last week where the offense ended up sending somebody, a Tavon Austin, in motion, and he comes around the outside, gets the football on a reverse, and we have a linebacker who's right there, an inside linebacker who comes out and makes the play and does a really good job at stopping it. However, I can tell you right now the Oakland Raiders are licking their chops seeing a play like that, because they will do one of two things. They will either give that ball to the slot receiver on the reverse, or they will fake the reverse and give it to Lynch and go the other direction. So a linebacker has, in my opinion, to stay home. They see that guy come in motion, hike the ball, and if they look like they're going to go for that reverse, they need to kind of stay home on that, because they could end up faking that and going back to Lynch. So you don't want to get caught getting greedy trying to think you see that reverse, when in all actuality, to tell you the truth, I would much rather face a slot receiver on a reverse than a handoff to Marshawn Lynch in a misdirection play. That guy just kind of scares me as far as one-on-one matchups for our secondary and some of our outside linebackers, because if he gets an open field one-on-one, he's a little bit tougher to bring down. And I had mentioned Amari Cooper earlier. Amari Cooper is, again, another target on third down that he really, really likes to go to. I have a feeling we could end up seeing some Amari Cooper on Bashaud Breeland. I don't think he's going to test Amari Cooper, with Josh Norman. I don't necessarily know if I'd see that. It'd be a ballsy play. I think it'd be right down their alley. I don't necessarily know if they'd take that chance on a Sunday night game. But I would definitely, if I was Oakland, I would definitely test Amari Cooper on Bashaud Breeland to see how fit he is for playing on a Sunday night. Another thing that I saw, if you end up seeing a trips formation where a tight end is a part of the trips formation, if number 86, tight end, Lee Smith, is on the football field, he is not, from what I have seen, I have not seen him run a whole lot of routes and catching footballs. He is more of a blocking tight end. Our linebackers and our defense needs to take a look at the fact that if they see a trips formation close to the line of scrimmage, up next to the offense, right outside one of those guards, and they see number 86 out there, it's probably a run play. Take a look at it being a run play. So if I see that bunch formation, the one thing I'm going to take a look at is I'm going to take a look to see if Marshawn Lynch is out there. They got another running back on that football team that's actually pretty good. I'm not sure exactly which one it is, because I was mainly watching Marshawn. Marshawn ends up taking a lot of snaps on this team. He's the only one that really scares me, but they do have a backup running back on this team, and number 2 in rotation that's actually fairly good. He's a decent running back. About as good as any of the running backs that we have. It's just that they also have Marshawn Lynch. So he's the one that really kind of scares me. But yeah, take a look at that trips formation. If you see number 86 in that trips formation, they're going to hand off the football, and it's going to be a running play, and they're going to probably run it right at number 86. So take a look at that as well. Persistence is going to be the name of the game in this one. Persistence on our defense. They're going to have to finish this play. They're going to have to go whistle to whistle, because on I don't know how many times in both the Jets game and the Tennessee Titans game where I've seen offensive linemen on the Oakland Raiders not finishing their blocks. They will come out, they'll make their initial blocks, and then they turn around and watch to see what's going on. Not a good habit. Not good practicing habits by an offensive line. So if I'm a defense, you've got to go 100%. No matter where the ball's going, 100% at all times. Because there may be times when Oakland ends up getting some mental errors and deciding that they're not going to finish the play. And sometimes you don't know with a guy like Marshawn Lynch. Sometimes he'll kick that ball back to the outside. Same thing with a wide receiver. You don't know necessarily what's going to happen. You have to be able to finish your blocks. The Washington Redskins last week against the LA Rams did a really, really good job of going whistle to whistle and playing all out. That's the type of offense that you want to have. An offense that isn't going to stop until they hear the whistle. So Oakland, maybe this is something that they show up for Sunday Night Football, but this is something that would be a possibility if you take a look at it. Maybe they're not going to be finishing their plays. Could be an opportunity for us to be able to kick something out to go into our favor. I can guarantee you that they're going to be looking at some of the abilities that we've had with Josh Norman punching that football out. You can do what you want with that. That's just going to be a play that's probably going to be there. There have been a lot of times when he's punched that ball and nothing's come out, but you don't want to see Josh Norman not doing it. I would love to see other individuals try that, to get in the habit of trying to punch that ball out. We try to rip it out all the time, but it's not necessarily something that works in our favor, but it's something that you want to try to see everybody doing. But that's pretty much my opinion. Hopefully we're able to get that ball out and get some turnovers going for us, because that will definitely help us win this football game. That's going to do it for me, guys. That's pretty much kind of a small little synopsis as far as what I think is what we can look forward to in this game against the Oakland Raiders. To be absolutely honest with you guys, this Oakland Raider team sitting at 2-0, first place in the AFC West. They're a very, very good football team. They travel fairly well, but I happen to think that we probably got a little bit. I don't know how we would necessarily compare to a Tennessee Titan football team. Tennessee played. I think we probably have a better offense than Tennessee does. I would say that our defenses are fairly marginal, but just what we have available to us, our ability, it just really kind of depends on what kind of tempo we're running. There's times that our offense does really, really well, and there's times our offense kind of does really, really crappy. It takes a while to get going. We have to be going in this game, in a game that we normally are not really, really up for. So we're going to have to turn stuff around, and we've got a veteran team that's used to playing, in games like this. It's not like there's a whole lot of people on this team that's new. It's not like there's a whole lot of people on this team that are rookies. A lot of these guys have some good experience, so there's really no excuse to start flat. Unfortunately, it happens. So hopefully, I want to see tempo in this football game. Tempo's got to be something that's got to be up there. Whole lot of effort, and don't get down when things don't go your way, man. There's things that are going to be going your way eventually. Momentum will swing in your favor, and you got to take advantage of that. Put your foot on their throat and don't stop. So this is going to be a great test for us. Oakland coming all the way over to Washington and having to play us in our crowd. Obviously, it's not going to be too much of an advantage because the Oakland Raiders travel very, very well. You're going to see a lot of black jerseys in those stands. That's just the way that it's going to be, unfortunately. So not going to be too much of a home field advantage. Honestly, this is a game that I think is winnable for us. I think that we've always played really, really well against the Oakland Raiders. However, do not, as a fan, go into this football game expecting a win because we're going up against that old Oakland Raider team. This is not that old Oakland Raider team, and we do not, we don't have Brian Arakpo on the outside to get 5 and 6 sacks in this game like he normally did when he played for our football team against a meaningless team that's not even in our conference, yet alone our division. So we don't have to worry about necessarily that. But I am expecting some people to play well. This team's going to give us a run for our money. With those wide receivers and that running back, they've got a lot of weapons, and they got a really big offensive line. Their defense is fairly decent too. So I expect us to win this football game. I would like to see us win this football game, and hopefully I'm right. So let me know what you guys think down in the show notes down below. Let me know if this is something that you'd like to see me do on a weekly basis. I plan on taking a look at a lot of game film for some of the teams that we got coming up. We've got a really, really tough road schedule that's coming up after this. We've got, the Kansas City Chiefs that we will be playing on the road. We come back home to play. I got a funny feeling about that San Francisco game, man. I don't know. Something tells me it's not going to be a cakewalk as a lot of people would expect it to be. And then we got the Eagles, Cowboys, and Seahawks. Those are going to be games that I expect to watch some game film on. So if this is something you'd like to see me do, I did a little bit of this last year. Let me know down in the show notes if there's something you want to see me come out with on a regular basis, and I will definitely try to get that out. So that's going to do it for me, guys. We'll catch you all next time. We'll see you after the game for my game review. So hopefully we can win this. Go Skins.